Right now at 5, people living near Portland's ICE facility get to breathe easier after a federal judge rules against the use of tear gas by agents. Plus, we go to Delaware, where the 6 U.S. service members killed in the newest conflict with Iran are back on U.S. soil. And later on, state lawmakers in Salem wrap up this year's short session, what they got accomplished and what comes next. We're following breaking news out of Kelso, Washington, where firefighters are trying to put out a fire at a hotel. This is a live view of the Red Lion Hotel off of South Kelso Drive, where we're told part of the roof there just collapsed. Cowlitz Fire and Rescue telling us firefighters were called around 1:40 this afternoon. Everyone inside was evacuated, but as you can see from this live look, fire crews there using multiple apparatus to spray water in the building from above, and we've seen firefighters spraying from below on those first story doors and windows as well. Multiple fire engines there on site. We'll continue to follow this story for any new developments, so stay with KGW for the latest. And tonight we're hearing from a resident who lives across from Portland's ICE facility after a federal judge issued a preliminary injunction restricting the indiscriminate use of tear gas by federal agents. The ruling follows months of residents at an affordable housing complex across from the facility reporting that chemical munitions deployed during protests were seeping into their homes. Our Jake Holter is joining us live in the newsroom with that story. Jake?
Yeah, John, after months of chemical gas seeping into her apartment, a resident we spoke with says she's grateful to have been heard and get a little relief.
We aren't invisible anymore.
Mindy King lives here at Gray's Landing, right across the street from the ICE facility.
To see it change so quickly to a place of fear where I had to teach my child how to put on a gas mask, and I had to constantly be on guard about, did we leave a window open?
King in disbelief that her life now involved putting on a gas mask in her home, her sanctuary.
This was an actual functional need I had in my home. It's now hanging on my kitchen shelves so that it's accessible at any moment. To get to the point where we needed that, it's ridiculous. It's insane that in this country where I felt so protected and I felt safe, to have that shattered, it's something I never expected to experience.
She says she felt the use of gas by the agents was indiscriminate and happened even with smaller crowds, times when she was less prepared.
Ripping the air conditioner out of my window so that I can get it closed, and those are the times that I got tear gas in my apartment.
That gas taking a toll on her health.
Having a sore throat just from being around the tear gas, even, the times between October and January when they weren't tear gassing, I still was experiencing stuff from the residue around the apartment.
So King joined the lawsuit against the Department of Homeland Security alongside fellow tenants and her building.
We have residents who went into heart failure, residents who had to be prescribed inhalers, residents who couldn't sleep and had to put gas masks on, residents who had to put gas masks on their kids.
Madison Moskowitz works at Reach, which operates the Gray's Landing apartment complex. She says they have incurred almost $250,000 working to keep the apartments and offices clean of chemical residue from the agents' munitions.
That cleaning is really hard to do when there's another round of gas the next day or the next week. So a permanent injunction is really essential to keep our residents safe and healthy and free from this unwarranted intrusion by the federal government.
The temporary injunction in place until the case is over.
The fact that we were able to accomplish this will really set the precedent and give other vulnerable communities the opportunity to protect themselves as well and be inspired by the strength of action that we took here.
And Moskowitz says they are asking the community and elected officials for help paying off the hundreds of thousands in unexpected expenses that have come with keeping the building clear of chemicals. We reached out to DHS for comment, but not yet have heard back. John?
We'll see where things go from here. Jake, thanks so much. The remains of 6 American service members killed in the first week of Israeli-U.S. strikes on Iran are back on U.S. soil. President Trump, First Lady Melania Trump, and Vice President J.D. Vance were among dignitaries paying tribute in a dignified transfer ceremony at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware. A prayer and then salutes for each of the 6 coffins before they're taken to be positively identified by an armed forces medical examiner and prepared for burial in final respects. Before flying to Delaware, the president gave comments about the conflict in Iran at the Shield of the Americas Summit, a group of conservative Latin American leaders. President Trump says the U.S. has sunk 42 Iranian ships in 3 days and is doing a 15 out of 10 rating on the joint Israeli-U.S. attack on.
That was the end of the Navy. We knocked out their Air Force. We knocked out their communications, and all telecommunications is gone. I don't know how they communicate, but I guess they will figure something out. It's not working out too well. And they're bad people. They're just bad people.
The president also claimed that Iran was close to building and using a nuclear weapon before the strikes. Well, time to take a live look outside right now. We've had a beautiful afternoon as we get set to spring forward overnight tonight. Corey Johnson is joining us now with what we should expect for the first day of daylight saving time. Hey, Corey.
Hey, John. Yeah, good evening. It's hard to believe we're already springing forward. I feel like we just fell back only a few months ago. Taking a live look outside, this is our Rose City camera. Some cloud cover overhead for us. It's going to be a beautiful evening on tap. Not going to see much in the way of any sprinkles. What we did see earlier today, that's done. We may see a small stray drizzle near the coast potentially, but other than that, we are sitting in the mid-50s. High 60s across many stretches, 64 in Salem, 61 in the Dalles, looks like 64 in Pendleton, 59 currently in Portland, and upper 40s near the coast. This is our Salem sky camera, 64 degrees, a nice calm wind, and that sun still blazing for us. Over on our Visit Seaside camera, the waves crashing in, a beautiful day over at the coast, 50 degrees currently. Not seeing anything on active radar, as I mentioned, as we get throughout the rest of the evening. Really just going to see that cloud cover fill in for us, the temperatures bumping down into the mid-40s as we prepare to usher in a little bit more wet weather as we get into the morning on our Sunday. But we'll break down the timing of all of that and what you can expect to see as we start a new work week coming up.
All right, Corey, thanks so much. New today out of Washington County, one person is in jail without bail for charges including murder after a deadly shooting last night. Sheriff's deputies were sent to an apartment complex in the Rock Creek neighborhood after a person called 911 and said he shot someone. Deputies arrived to find the victim, 35-year-old Kenmani Adkins, dead at the scene. They detained 26-year-old Stephen Bagnera after learning he shot Adkins during a fight with multiple people. The sheriff's office is asking for witnesses to reach out if they haven't already spoken with investigators. In Gresham, investigators are looking into what caused a deadly crash that also left a child hurt. It happened last night just before 6:40 in the evening. The initial caller reported a 3-car crash, but officers found only 2 cars involved. The passenger of the first car died at the scene. The driver and a young child were hurt and taken to the hospital. A driver and passenger in the second car were not injured. Investigators believe speed factored into this crash. Last night, a group gathered outside Portland's Mexican consulate, urging officials to step in to help a Vancouver man in immigration custody. Organizers say Jose Cruz Morales, a Mexican migrant, was detained in July. They say at the time of his arrest, he suffered medical neglect due to broken ribs. Now, months later, and inside an ICE facility in Louisiana, they say he's facing more pain from a bacterial infection.
The moment his medical conditions have worsened so bad, he's down to 140 pounds. And it can really get worse if we don't do something now. It's come to that point where, we're not just going to sit here and take all of the neglect lying down.
KGW has reached out to the consulate directly for a comment, but as of Friday night, we did not yet receive a response. KGW also reached out to ICE, but we did not hear back.
I declare the 2026 regular session of the 83rd Legislative Assembly is adjourned. Sine die.
This year's legislative short session has officially come to a close. Before sine die, lawmakers passed bills related to transportation funding, immigration protection, and the economy, to just name a few. They all still need the governor's signature. One last-minute addition, a stripped-down version of Measure 114. That's the controversial gun control law, which has been held up in court since 2022. Republicans celebrated, saying they'd successfully removed the bill's harmful gun control regulations.
The reality is there was a conversation between myself and the Senate President that made it clear that the Republicans would not abide by having that bill moved to the Senate floor.
Lawmakers passed a bill moving a referendum to the May ballot that will let voters decide on tax hikes for transportation projects. Republicans are fighting that one in court, saying the measure should be on the November ballot. In a bipartisan measure, lawmakers united to approve a bill allocating hundreds of millions of dollars toward renovations at the Moda Center.